Hello, people. So yeah, leading up towards getting this Oliver Twist out there, I'm going to be doing some tutorials, just taking people through. So I'll do a quick sketch of Nancy with you. Now, Nancy is kind of, she's based around people in man's life, I reckon. The character, the strength of character. It's kind of based around people in man's life. The woman, the strong female character. If you remember the original Oliver Twist story, you remember it was Nancy that actually was the only one who put her life on the line for Oliver. So, and I always felt like she was the hero, the unsung hero, if that made sense. So when I was kind of, looking at what stories I could write that were going to be interesting, Oliver Twist has always been something that's resonated with me. I don't know if you ever remember me and Talisa having that situation in the newspapers. A lot of people didn't know I was actually, the only reason I ended up in that situation was because I had wrote a remake of Oliver Twist. And me and T was trying to pitch it. She would agree to play, actually, the funny thing, she had agreed to play Nancy. And we were trying to pitch it and get the money, so. And, to this day I was getting shapes of. So yeah, we were trying to pitch it and get the money. So at the time, it was like, so at the time, I had this concept and I was going to base it a bit around my own life, in care homes and all the rest of it. But as time went on, I was looking for a story to tell, and also a story that we could actually get the IP on, because if it's something's been out of domain for a certain amount of time, you can use it. So I just wanted to tell an interesting story, and for me, Oliver Twist has everything. I don't know if you've ever, taken it, but it has everything. And it's a timeless story. It's a story which, no matter what, is timeless. Because, issues of poverty they don't go away. They don't go away, and it's never gonna go away. So that story is a timeless. So I wanted to get that story and put it in the future and let them think, what would happen if you took that and you brought it up today. And that was my whole take on Oliver Twist. So this is what we've done. So our story starts in 2000 and we're 2150. We're in a time of AI there's been an AI uprising. There's been a World War III. Most of the country lives in this kind of feudal archaeology system, kind of like pyramid systems. And it's not a good place. And I don't want to give too much away, but we follow Nancy. And Oliver turns out to be something kind of a bit special, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'll take a bit of story, but anyway, I'll take you through this tutorial. So what I'm doing here, I'm just going, and to be honest with you, I've got a look for Nancy. We've got a look for all the characters. But I haven't necessarily hunkered down on everything yet, if that makes sense. I'm still, costumes and suits, but my main thing before I even went into this was understanding that I knew how their technology worked, if that makes sense. So I needed to know if I'm giving them, especially if you're writing a science fiction story, you need to know how the technology works. She's got a robot arm. I kind of need to know how that works a little bit. So my whole thing up until this point was kind of just getting to the point where I understood what I was drawing. You can't just think about if you just draw things, you just slip up later on down the line, because you don't know how those things work. So you then can't really draw more than what you draw, if that makes sense. So before I even went into this book, I done a lot of research, like a hell of a lot of research, into everything from nanotechnology to picotechnology to brain mapping, you know, biochemistry. Like I really went in with this one. So therefore I could write my story in peace. That was the whole thing. I wanted to write the story in peace. I didn't want to. And I think the more research you do, I mean, some people don't say, you should do a lot of research, it can kind of take you off the thing. But I kind of think the more research you do, the more in peace you can tell your story, if that makes sense. And this is I'm just drawing a quick rush drawing, nothing perfect. I just want to I do like drawing, my Nancy. So this is kind of what it looked like, the sketches before they do in the computer. I do a lot of stuff digitally inside the computer, but before they go in, this is kind of how I start them, just to get the shape and the form. And just to practice drawing my go. A lot of things will be off. But so at this stage I might just kind of try to get the form. Since I was in jail, I always draw funny on this side. This side causes me problems. I see things weird. And it's been like that since I was in prison. And I'm really good to draw. And I think I used to draw from one side of the desk. So at this stage, it's just loose. It's just loose strokes. Actually, a lot of the time when I draw faces, I tend to wait until I get to the computer all the time. So I can hold in properly. But at this stage, it's just basic, just not understanding the form. And keeping it alive as well. A lot of time, when you try to get too precise at this stage, you can stiffen up the drawing. So pencil stages, I want it to kind of be alive as much as possible. So with that, I might just kind of go in and just bring it down a little bit. I can just keep the lines that I want. And what I'll do later on, I might forget 20 minutes, I'll go on the computer and finish this off. So now you kind of just hold a bit more in on the shapes. It's probably not even bloody even. But just kind of, so I can see where everything is basically. I'm drawing smaller ones, I'm doing on A4. Doing A4 is pretty good. But as long as I can kind of keep the shapes, I'm cool. I don't really care about how precise everything is. I just want to kind of keep the shape. If I can do that, then I can get in the computer and do the rest. So we know she's got that bicep there. Another one I do kind of like sharp lines. I just think it, a lot of artists don't, a lot of artists like to smooth off their lines a lot more. I like it because I think it keeps the energy in the picture. Because I never used to be that way. I used to draw very precise and every line was very, bang on. But I found it can stiffen up the picture. It can often stiffen up the picture. And then, especially if you sometimes, especially when when you're just kind of, especially as a learning artist, because you want to get everything right. You want to get, if you're drawing hands, you want it to be right. If you're drawing arms, you want it to be right, and all this shit. And you're thinking about all this shit, and then as you're doing that, you're losing energy in the picture. With every stroke, I'm a strong believer. With every stroke, you lose energy. So the least strokes as possible, the more energy the picture's going to return. That's one of my beliefs. And I've always found that. I just think it's like anything. The less you think about something, it's like rapping, the way I rap. I don't write. So therefore, where I don't write, and I always say the reason I don't write is not because I think it's to be fancy. I just think we're retranslating most of the time. Show a little bit of a robot fingers maybe. I just think we're retranslating most of the time. Does that make sense? Like, so there's no point in writing. So if you can remember it, then how it is in your head is how it is. Does that make sense? So now I might just go around it and just give it a because freaking flying around my bloody sitting room. It's doing my nutting. Go over a little bit. But, yeah. I tend to, let me give her any, let me give her a bell. See, this is for me, this is the most important. As you can see, when it gets in there, it gets a bit. But yeah, so I'm just getting ready to get this hitman out. When I do, I'm going to be doing tutorials on the rest of it. And, I've got this freaking fly that's flying around. So yeah, I'll hustle around the computer later. I'll finish it off on the computer.